See if I'm all set up here. Nice. I think I'm ready to go. All right, cool. What up, everyone? Thank you for joining in this third Faith and Base podcast. I guess you can call it my third. It's technically my second because I made a second after my first because my stream got cut off. So I'm back in full effect today. This is another Wednesday stream. And I'm going to try to keep it consistent, whether I keep it on a Wednesday. But I just want to be doing more streams. It's a little bit easier to just pump out content and not worry too much about the editing and post-production and all that. Obviously, having skills in design, I could spend a lot of time in just perfecting all that. And at the end of the day, I feel like it's better and more powerful to actually get those messages out than all the glitz and glamour of editing it. But as you can see, I'm rocking my Faith and Based hat, my Serve Others shirt, really fly stuff. Get it on faithandbase.com. Get your dope gear. Rep Christ, rep God, rep good things instead of some of the demonic messages that's out there in the world. And I think I appreciate people's support with this. And so I'm going to start off in a little bit of a prayer. Father God, thank you for everything that I have. Bless this podcast and everybody that's listening. Guide me in the way of the Holy Spirit, that I help others and touch others in a way that is productive and in a way that we all can help influence each other and be better conduits of your light and love. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. So, thank you guys for hopping on and listening. You can probably tell I got a little bit of a better camera situation. I'm actually using OBS in this stream too. So eventually I'm going to have more production value for my streams. I don't have all the different graphics and stuff that I would probably like, or in fun intro. I'll work on that. So I'm just going to dive right into it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about actually the Book of James. It's kind of funny because my favorite Bible verse, if somebody were to ask me, hey Mike, what's your favorite Bible verse? It's actually, and I'm looking it up now, I mean, I'll just say the first part of it, James 4:8, and it's come near to God and God will come near to you. So that's always been like my favorite verse. Come near to God and God will come near to you. I feel like that's very very transparent in my life. And I think that the funny issue is that I've never focused much on the last part of that verse, which is wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded, right? And that last part, right, you double-minded. I actually kind of marinated on that because there's actually a Bible verse, James 1:8, not 4:8, but 1:8, that says, such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. And I kind of reflected on that a little bit, right, about being double-minded. So there's the word integrity, right? That means you're integral. That means you're one. There's oneness, meaning that the same person you are with your mom, your dad, your siblings, your wife, your kids, your coworkers, you're all the same. You're the same person. Everybody knows you as the same single integer, this oneness, right? And I think about that sometimes with the double-mindedness, right? Is although you think of yourself as a good person, are you double-minded? And I kind of reflected on that a little bit. And at times maybe I am double-minded. So I think that that's something like a thought experiment for other people to kind of think about, is that are they a certain way, or do they give off an image of a certain way, and then they go back into, gossiping, or they're doing, they might snicker behind someone's back or mock or whatever it might be. Like, that's kind of double-minded, right? So I think that's kind of interesting, and I find it funny because the James 1:8 and the James 4:8 are the two Bible verses where they talk about the double-mindedness in the whole Bible. And I just felt that was really interesting, because that's something that I've thought of before, is the etymology of integrity, right? You need to be integral. You need to be like an integer, which is just like having that oneness. But I think it's interesting right away to just bring up the Book of James, because I feel like that's like one of the stronger, most powerful books. And even the guy that created Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, he used the Book of James as like a lot of inspiration to like create that. And I'm not saying I'm part of the program or anything. Not that anything's wrong with it. I just know that is a fact. So it just shows like the weight and the power of that book. And excuse me if I'm have my head down here. I'm actually going to post this on my social media to get people onto the stream. Give me 1 second. So yeah, so I think that the Book of James is a really strong and powerful book. One also reason that I think that book is great is he first starts off by saying he's a brother of Jesus, right? And a lot of people might not even think about that. Like, is he, like, did Jesus have family members or relatives or anything like that? And he starts off in the book saying, oh, as a brother of Jesus. And I've actually looked into that, and I guess some like scholars or historians say that, oh, that's like saying, yo, what up, brother? Like, it's not your actual brother. But I mean, I think it's actually his brother, so I think that might be interesting to think about, like a thought experiment, right? And one of the main emphasis about that book is about, and this is what a lot of like Christians and like Catholics or whatever debate about, is faith and works, right? So obviously you're saved through Jesus Christ, but is it faith alone or is it works, right? So a lot of like Catholics, for example, they say you need the works, right? Where some Christian denominations say, you just need the faith in Jesus Christ and that's it. But in the Book of James, they talk about how through your actions, you're demonstrating your faith. So there's like a balance in that. So like you're basically not doing you're not demonstrating your faith at all if you're not doing your works, So it's actually like a perfect balance between the faith and action, and that's what the Book of James kind of talks about. And also, like a big thing that resonates with me in that book is the purpose of trials, like in your Christian journey. So it's actually funny because it's talking about being happy in your trials, like in a way, like you have to have joy that you are being tested. And I think a lot of people, they think of themselves like, man, oh man, God is cursing me. I'm going through X, Y, and Z. This is like terrible. This is humiliating. Woe is me. And let's be real. Sometimes I might fall into that, right? But actually, that's like God really, really like being like the alchemist of turning your lead into gold and just getting rid of all that crap in you, and really you just become a way better person. So I think that people really think like, you should think about that, like when you are being tested, you should actually find joy in it, which I think is funny. The just saying that word, right? Finding joy in suffering, because you're like, look, I'm being tested now, and now's my chance to demonstrate to God that I'm in it to win it, that I actually love him, that I'm actually going to do the right thing. I'm not going to backslide. I'm not going to do the, the sin or do the whack thing, And I think that's really strong and powerful. And then going back into James is that I love it. James 1:17, where he goes, every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who do not change like shifting shadows. And so I have a daughter, and man, when I first read that, I mean, it almost like brought tears to my face, because it's like it's so true. It's that, I don't care what you have. You have a yacht, a mansion, you have whatever worldly thing, like that's cool, that's great. But at the end of the day, it's like when you have a material gain, within a month, within a little bit of time, you forget about it. You don't even care anymore. But when you have a gift from God, like in that case, a loving wife, or a kid, that like a daughter that you absolutely adore, I mean, that is a perfect gift. And that could only come from God. I mean, that can't come from anywhere else. You did not create that. As much as people like to blow smoke up their butt and say, "Oh, I'm such a good dad. Oh, I have such great genes. Look how cool am I? Look how good looking am I?" Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, man. Like, that ain't you, bro. Like, if it was you, it looked like a freaking Picasso painting, bro. It look all jacked up. You know what I mean? So I think that's yeah, the Book of James is just like super super fresh. Like, definitely, like, if that book wasn't part of the Bible, if that book was a standalone, that would be like I don't know, people of the world, like people like that don't even rep God or rep faith or religion, would still really really like that book. Um, what else do I got here? What else do I got here as far as the Book of James? I got a couple notes here. Let me review here for a second. Um, yeah, it's basically trying to live out your faith in practical ways. I think that and one of the main things about that book is wisdom and speech, right? So being wise in your thoughts and your words. And I've kind of talked about that a little bit in a different podcast. Is that using the words that you say, like there's a reason, like the English language is really like interesting. Like, whoever designed it, right? It's like words are swords, right? Word, swords. You put an S at the end, in the beginning, the end, and it could be something that could harm you or hurt you, harm someone else, or it can empower you, right? And you have to really choose your words wisely. And so I think that you could cast a curse using your words, or you could change the world with a really blessed thing through your words. So you really have to be conscious of the words you're choosing and how you say it to people, and even to yourself, because that could have a lot of ramifications to you and your surroundings. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've definitely, between the trials and testings, and then the faith in your works, and I just think that that's super rad book to focus on for anybody that's like a baby Christian that's new in their faith, or even someone that's more seasoned. I mean, even for a guy like me, that I'm like, oh, I'm Mister, if because I've seen some of these YouTube shorts, right, and they go, hey, here's $20. Could you name me a Bible verse? And I know so many off the top of my head. I would just like love that situation, right? But for me, it would be like James 4:8. It'd be like, oh, come near to God, and God come near to you. But what's funny is that's where I stop. I never go into the purify. Hold on, what is it? Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. And I feel like that last part is pretty key. To wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. And what's interesting, talking about purification, I So I'm kind of dropping something kind of new that some people might not be knowing about. But my friend and I, we started a brand called 333 Oil, and it hasn't even fully dropped yet. I don't even know if we have the site up. So don't go do your DD and look it up just yet. But basically, we're coming out with anointing oil, and we're coming out with holy water, and we're coming out with blessed salt. And you can see I have some of the product here, and you can see this. This is actually Moses with his arms in the air with salt all around him, and this is actually to purify, first of all, your house or your surrounding, but really to purify an offering. So if you do an offering to God, you purify it. And this is actually like from like the Bible of purification. But you really got to purify yourself if you want to come to God, right? Like, think about it. If you're going to heaven or whatever, you're going as a pure thing. You're not going as this like blemished, you know, sinner or something all messed up. Like, you're actually going as a pure entity in order to, you know, cross the heaven gates. So you need to be purified. So there's definitely a lot of like spiritual truths to that. And yeah, I think that, you know, if you also, you could use that as a hedge of protection, right? Like spiritual protection, right? Like, let's say, you know, God forbid you're having issues spiritually, right? Whether it's bad dreams, you know, demonic possession, and you know, things like this, which, you know, if you're a part of the, you know, you're not really part of the spiritual tip, that might be sound kind of wild to you. But yeah, I mean, the more that you actually purify yourself, you'll notice that. So for example, like I've been fasting from smoking weed, right? And one thing that happens when you stop smoking is you actually start dreaming more. Because when you're blazing all the time, you don't dream. It's just like how it goes. You just don't dream. So like that aspect of life kind of tapers down, and then what ends up happening is you don't get that revelation. Like God, like for example, God spoke to Joseph. I'm sorry, Joseph. An angel came to Joseph in his dream, and was like, hey, by the way, you know, talk to him about Jesus coming, about his wife being impregnated, but you know, by God and all this stuff, and that was via dream. But you know, and there's other biblical scenarios where God or an angel comes to you in your dream. But anyways, like, you're able to interact in the spiritual realm in your dream state. That's how God communicates with you. I think that you really do yourself a disservice if you're blazing all the time and you're not able to dream. So yeah, so if you're having, let's say you're not smoking anymore and you're trying to purify yourself and all this stuff, and now you're having these, like, you know, really, really ugly demonic dreams or whatever, you could try to cancel that, right? You could try to end that, and this actually could be a conduit of doing that, the blessed salt. And the whole concept with our blessed salt, holy water, anointing oil, is that we're gonna have it all blessed too. So you'll be like spiritually protected, you know. So you know, just another tool for somebody to have to fight in this spiritual warfare, right? I mean, listen, what is it? Ephesians 6:12, right? Um, you need to put on. Give me a second here. Put on the armor of, okay, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of darkness and spiritual forces in the heavenly realm. And that's just like really, really true, you know. And once you know that, once you're walking in this walk, you'll just see it nonstop. So I'll continue with that quote. Therefore, put on the armor of God, so that when the day comes, you can stand strong in your ground. After you've done everything to stand firm. Then with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, right? Your faith shields you. with that you could extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. So what's wild is that the faith extinguishes the arrows of the evil one. But now, what's the opposite of faith? Fear. And what does the news pump to us every day? What does social media pump to you every day? What are all the worldly talking points every day? Fear, fear, fear. Oh, did you hear? Oh, the hurricane. Oh, did you hear? Oh, you hear what Biden and this and I mean, listen. You turn on the news. I call it the blues. They're always singing a sad tune. It's every single time they're trying to tell you something to make you scared, you know? And what's that doing? That's putting your shield down, right? That's making you a mark, you know? You're able to become murdered in the spiritual realm, you know? As soon as you got that shield down, they got your ass, you know? Got your ass, boy. And then it goes, take up the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, the sword of the Spirit. You know, and what's wild is that every time that that Jesus would like rebukes like a evil spirit or whatever in the Bible, like you know, when people would be possessed and Jesus would cast out demons and all this kind of stuff, he was using the word, like he was going back to the Torah and like going back to the Old Testament and saying that. So that's what's wild is about, like, you know, when people talk about different faiths and all this stuff, it's like, bro, like the New Testament is just a like continuation. Like Jesus is literally just using the Old Testament, you know? So it's like, you know, like let's say you're a Christian, you really can't be hating on the Jews because they're essentially using the same tools or using that. And let's say you're Jewish, you really can't be hating on the Christians because they're repping the Torah. You know, if they're a real Christian and they know what's up, like that I mean, essentially it's all the same, you know. So yeah, I mean, granted, you know, the Jews aren't, you know, they don't recognize Christ as Son of God and all this stuff. But listen, at the end of the day, God's about multiplication and addition, not about dividing. God ain't dividing, bro. He's not the author of division, bro. That's Satan, bro. So if you ever come into that spirit of like, oh no, you guys are wrong, you know what's up, I know what's up, I'm a special boy, you know, it's all this, it's like, bro, that's that's like, you know, you know that spirit is messed up. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just think that's just like interesting, you know. But yeah, here. So let me continue this. I'm glad I have topics that keep me on track because I can go on these little tangents, man. So let me talk a little bit. I felt like this is some real big gravy here. So I'm gonna ladle some gravy for you guys. You know, we're gonna dish up some gravy. So listen, right? In Exodus, there were the plagues that were going on, right? And the plagues in Egypt, right? And what's pretty wild is that was God really challenging the Egyptians because they were kind of like fallen. They were going into all these different like different gods, like lowercase g, right? So that's what they were following instead of God. And what's funny is that a lot of those plagues represented it was like a diss to those lowercase g gods. So like the water turned to blood. So in the plague, the Nile River, it was like, you know, obviously like a big water source, and it was revered as a god by the Egyptians, Happy, right? Or Hapi, happy, whatever. And so like that was like the water god or whatever, you know. And then that water turned to blood. So that was like an inversion. It's like, oh, your God's about that? All right, let me just like break that, like bop, like do some jujitsu and split that open, you know? And then so that's just one. So then there's a frog-headed goddess, Heket, right? And that was that was about associated with like fertility and childbirth. And then there was a plague of all the frogs, and that was like the like irony, because like all those creatures completely like flooded that land, and that was like a direct like inversion to that concept of like fertility and creation and all that. Also like with like livestock and disease, right? So Hathor, which was the goddess, which is actually like a crypto, right? Of course, right? Every crypto has these like fallen angel, I mean, fallen god names, right, or whatever. A goddess with a cow-like attributes, right? And that's linked to fertility and motherhood. And then guess what? There was a ton of livestock that died. So that was like challenging the goddess's protection of like sustaining life and all this kind of stuff. Um, and then there was an Egyptian god, Imhotep, right? And that was a god associated with healing, and everybody that from the plague got boils. And that was like a direct blow to the Imhotep's healing powers. Or the god of Osiris, connected to agriculture and the fertility of the land. And basically a ton of locusts basically like went ahead and destroyed the Egyptians, right? And that was challenging Osiris's domain. So I mean, even Ra, right? And I'm sure people have heard of Ra, right? The sun god, which is like a significant Egyptian like deity, right? And the plague, like during the plague, there was a period of complete darkness where the sun was like blacked out, and that was like God's like fu to Ra, like yo, like oh you think you have the power of like light and all this? It's like, bro, I'm the true living God, dude. Like come on, man. Like you guys are gonna worship all these other goofball deities, lowercase g. Like nah, man. Like I'm the uppercase. Like I'm like the main. Like um, and then like lastly, I mean I have other ones too, but I don't want to just focus too much on this. Is like the death of the firstborn, right? So the Pharaoh was considered a god and a divine representation on earth. So that's like the Pharaoh was basically like a god, right? And the final plague, the death of the firstborn, challenging the Egyptian belief of the divine status of the protection from their ruler, right? From the Pharaoh. So that was like the like final like boom, like TKO that God gave to the Egyptians, you know. So I mean, just think about that. Like, there's an Ecclesiastes quote. There's nothing new under the sun, right? And it's like, yo, like, I don't know. I don't know if anybody like is awakened as I am, but if you follow media, you know how much like there's like Egyptian, like bro, like so many people, and like I don't want to cuss, but they deride like they're all up on all the Egyptian stuff. You know what I mean? They think it's so cool. They're doing this and that, homaging Egypt, homaging this and that and the other. And I'm like, bro, isn't that where like they were trying to get out of, dude? Like, isn't that like a cursed land? Like, why are we repping Egypt, bro? Like, nah, fam. Like, I'm not. No, dude. Like Egypt's whack. What are you talking about, bro? Like that whole culture, dude. And I mean, another thing of culture, right? When people tell me culture, it's like, yeah, you rep culture, huh? You like culture? What's the first four letters of culture, bro? It's like, yeah, bro, like there's nothing new under the sun. It's like, yeah, dog, like cult, dude. Like you're repping some cult shit when you're talking about, oh, I'm this culture, I'm that culture, da 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 da. It's like, bro, what you're doing is you're dividing, bro. Because like God is like the author of togetherness, and like everybody's one. Like we're all from the same lineage. We're all from Adam, you know, Adam and Eve, bam, 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 and then it all disseminated from. So in actuality, there is no black, there is no Chinese, there is no American, there is no Latin, there is no nothing. We're all the same. Game over. But what does society say? Oh no, I'm a special boy. I'm from Italy, and you're from here. And da 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 da. It's like, okay, wow, you're so special, bro. Like your parents were born in a certain part of the earth. Congratulations. Like, oh, like you have different skin tone. Cool. You have different eyes. Cool. Your hair is a different color. Fantastic. Like, you know, like people get too caught up in that culture stuff, right? And really, it's just a psyop. People are being psyoped, a psychological operation, right? People are being psyoped, like thinking that we all have to be separated and different. And then guess what? The more that you separate people, the more that you're able to control people, you know? Because think about it, we have strength in numbers. If everybody's all together, who do we go up against? We go up against all the people controlling. But instead, what they want to do is they control everybody by putting everybody in little buckets. Oh, you're a white male. You're this. You're that. Oh, you're one of these now. Oh, and make sure you don't talk to these kind of people. And then, by the way, they'll put things into the media. Oh, if you're a white dude, that means that, hey, you like Trump, and that you're one of these, and then you're one of those, and then you listen to this kind of music, and then you're one of those. And the next thing you know, you walk into a gas station, or you walk into the gym, or you walk somewhere, people look at you and boom, they already have a preconceived notion of you. Say, wait a second. Aren't we all God's people and don't we all love each other? Da, da, da. No, yeah, right, bro. You're one of these. Da, 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 da. It's like, bro, get out of here, dude. Like, you're psyoped by society, bro. But yeah, man, it's just that, I mean, it just goes back to what I was saying about the blues, right? The fear in the news. It's all the blues. It's all stuff to control you. And it's like, bro, you have to focus on the Ephesians 6, whatever, 6:12, 6:13, 14. You need that shield of faith, man. You need that faith. You can't focus on that fear. Because it'll just kill you. Another thing I want to talk about really quick is the Ephesians and the tax collector. So it's a really, really quick thing, but I thought it was like really powerful. So I'm just gonna just read it really quick, and then I'll give my little take on it. So like two men go into the temple and pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank you that I am not like the other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as his tax collector. So he's basically saying, hey, I'm not like this guy right here, right? I fast twice a week. I give tithes for all that I possess. So he's just like blowing smoke up his butt, right? Like saying how great he is while he's praying. So he's just, what kind of prayer is this? And then the tax collector, standing from afar, he wouldn't even raise his eyes to heaven. He's so humble, right? But beat his chest, saying, God, be merciful to me, for I'm a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. And then, then the quote goes, for everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. And, that's Jesus Christ from the Holy Bible, the book, that's from Luke 18:10-14. I think that's really deep, right? So one dude, the Pharisee, he does everything right religiously, right? Like through the mindset, he's doing everything right, right? But then you have the tax collector, right? That's taking advantage of people. He's dealing with money. He might be stealing money or whatever, but he's humble enough when he talks to God, where he admits his fault and his sin, and he's doing it in a humble way. And then God is saying, hey, by the way, for everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. So I think that's like, bro, in the age of social media, in the age of like flexing, bro, it's like, dog, like, man, be careful with that flex, bro, because you keep exalting yourself, bro, you're gonna get freaking humbled, bro. And I mean, it takes one to know one, man. I listen, I'm not sitting here saying I'm Mr. Know-It-All and I've never flexed and I've never gotten humbled, bro. This is talking about a guy that's lived that experience, bro. I mean, that's been part of my whole faith journey at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I think that it's you only get this kind of wisdom if you've actually lived that experience. You know what I mean? Like otherwise it's like, oh, who are you to say something? It's like, yeah, dude, I'm not saying here because I think I know it all. I'm saying that I've learned some of this stuff through my life experience, and I don't want people to fall and suffer from crap that I've had to. So it's not really like, oh, I know it all. It's more like, bro, learn from my mistakes. Yeah. Anyways, So I'll go into to another topic, and I brought it up a little bit on my live stream. Is the Book of Enoch? So the book of check this out. The Book of Enoch is actually recognized by like the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, right? So there's different like orthodoxies, right? And one of them's the Ethiopian church, and so they have the Book of Enoch in their Bible. So like in like the King James version and whatnot, it's not. However, it's the Book of Enoch is referenced in two different Bible verses. Like one of them being Jude. I forgot what the other one is, right? So there is a lot of gravy in the Book of Enoch, on top of the fact that it was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So the Dead Sea Scrolls was like, I mean, that gave proof to a lot of religious texts being super valid, because it was like a super ancient, archaic writings that they found in the Dead Sea, and those were like dated like super old school, and it was like, in like the like dated. It was in the correct writing of the time and everything. And the Book of Enoch was part of those scrolls, and like Enoch is obviously like in Genesis, it came from Adam, Eve, and it went all the way down. And Enoch was one of those forefathers. And I'll go on a little bit of a tangent. Man, it's so wild in the Genesis when you see the different ages that everybody was, right? Noah lived to like 777, and this guy 600 and something, because back in the day the earth was different, right? So like so apparently there was more oxygen down in the earth, so it was like quite like everybody lived longer, right? So it was like it was just a whole different vibe. So I think that's also wild for us to kind of think about, right? Like, nowadays you think if you're 50, you think of yourself as middle-aged. Imagine back in the day, if you were 50, you were still like, bro, borderline a baby still. Think about that. That's freaking wild, you know? But yeah, so like, anyways, the Book of Enoch, right? Him and Elijah, those were the only two biblical figures that didn't die. Those people just went straight up into heaven. So they say, like in Revelation, when Jesus comes back and judges, like Revelation, like fire and brimstone. There's gonna be Enoch and there's gonna be Elijah next to him. But anyways, what's wild about the Book of Enoch is that like he goes up into the celestial realm, and he's with angels, and he's able to like see heaven and hell, and the different layers of heaven, and the different or heaven, right, and the different layers of hell. And it's like it's pretty gnarly of a read or a listen, if you've like if you're into audiobooks or whatever. I really recommend it. And like, listen, like as a Christian, whatever, like Catholic, you name it, whatever, people like it's not like part of like the teaching, but I don't care like what religion you are or whatever. I just think it's a fascinating book because it really brings you back to like human history, about how we evolve. So like, for example, it goes into the Watchers, right, which are the fallen angels, and how they basically they when they disobey God and they get kicked out of heaven, right? They not only did they mate with women, but they also taught things. So they taught like gardening, root cutting. They taught women how to do makeup and paint their eyes. They taught men how to do warfare, weaponry, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, and sometimes like I'll catch myself. I'll be watching like, I'll be seeing like females like, whatever, like at the, whatever. I just see like, some of the new fashion and new stuff. And sometimes it'll hit me. I'll be like, man, like the way that woman is dressed, like decked out and like makeup and all these kind of things. I'm like, yo, bro, that's like fucking, oops, pardon my language. That's like freaking fallen angel tech right there, bro. If you really think about that, it's like, man, like if only they knew. It's like, yo, they're repping some FAs, dog. You know. But yeah, man, like it's really wild. If you really think about the like the implications of that book, and how if you actually think that there's gravy in that book, that about like how it has influenced us in our society now. And then it makes you really think about like that manipulation, right? Like, think about that, right? Like, let's say you meet a woman, right? And then she has like, the Brazilian butt lift, the face, all this stuff. At the end of the day, that's not her, bro. You know? Like, I like, for you could listen, I'm not here condemning anyone, and I'm not perfect. I even have tattoos, and like, but at the end of the day, it's like, bro, like that's not like the godly way. Like, that's kind of like the fallen way. That's like, you think your way isn't the right way, like your divine, like natural way isn't good enough, so you have to alter yourself. You have to adjust yourself. And yeah, I mean, I know that what I'm saying is so anti social media, right? Because everything on social media is all about being fake and like, looking as good as possible at all costs. But it's like, yo, at the end of the day, it's like, that's manipulation. Like if you're trying to manipulate a man because you're gonna like do all these different things, that's not necessarily good. And I'm not condemning women. I'm saying the same thing for men, right? Like like they, some of these angels taught men like witchcraft and all this kind of like divination and all this kind of stuff, which the Bible says not to do, right? So yeah, I just think that, yeah, there's just a lot of gravy in that book about like our past, and what some of these watchers, these fallen angels did, and the powers that they had, because they had heavenly powers. They had powers that only, like they were hanging out with God. They knew they were there when he created stuff. They were part of it. And then they were able to see stuff. And then as a big F you to God, they go, okay, we'll teach some of these secrets that you didn't want known to the humans. No different than biting of the apple with Adam and Eve, right? Then their eyes were opened, and then they knew they were naked. That was a part of God's design. He wasn't like, hey, by the way, like I intended for you people to be naked and to live in bliss and not worry about being shameful about your nude bodies. But you wanted to be special boys, and you wanted that extra advanced knowledge, and now you got it. And now guess what? Now you feel insecure, and now you have anxiety, and now you're covering yourself. It's like, it's kind of like it's the same thing. It's like there's nothing new under the sun in that way. Um, yeah. What else? What else I got here, fam? Yeah, man. I'm just kind of flowing and freestyling. I have my little notes like I always do. But let's see what else I got here, family. Oh, you know what's crazy? So I'll go into another thing. So I talked about like the plague in Egypt, right? You know what's wild is that, like, how there was like the Black Plague, right? The bubonic plague. That was like in Europe in the 14th century or whatever, and it affected like a lot of people in Europe. But what's wild is that it didn't really affect the Jews so much. And you could hypothesize why, right? Like they experience like way less mortality rate than other people. And you could be like, look, because the Jews were more cleanly. They reduced bacteria by, they only did stuff with a certain hand, right? Like they would wipe themselves with one hand and they'd eat with the other hand. So they made sure there was none of this and that. They made sure to, like, be very clean. Like their living quarters were arranged in a way where they weren't exposed to plagues as much. Um, they were very aware of disease transmission and all this kind of stuff. Maybe their genetics, or that they had better immunity. Maybe that they were like more immune to stuff. And this is all plausible, right? And You know, I think that these are what kind of like what I say normies. This is what normal people would say, right? But check it out. What about Dr. Miyamoto that would say that when he would say perfect words, when he would say I love you and blessings over water, the water would do like a snowflake, like perfect, like geometric patterns, right? Like in a beautiful way. But then if he said to the water, I hate you, something ugly, the water would look all like screwed up, all messed up. And I think that there's a lot of like gravy in that about what you say. And our bodies are all water. So if you think about it, like this, I have water here, right? If I say I love you, thank you for this water, God bless this water, and then I drink it, there's going to be more healing properties in this water than if I was in fighting and all this kind of stuff, right? So just think about that. Before you eat and before you drink, you pray over your water. But listen, that's what Jews and that's what Christians do all the time. That's what they say to do, and that's what Jews do. And then lo and behold, they died less from the bubonic plague. And if you're somebody like me, that you're moving spiritually, where things are less material, less physical, and more spiritual in nature, it's like, dude, yeah, bro, the Jews didn't get hurt as much from the bubonic plague because they were praying over their food. You know, it's just like as simple as that. You bless your food, you pray over it, you actually influence and affect the chemistry of it, and then it changes. You know, and I'll even go deep down the rabbit hole on some conspiracy tip because I feel like it. If you look at the Liquid Death logo and you put side to side the Liquid Death logo with the pattern of the Dr. Miyamoto when he's like saying all his ugly things, it looks the exact same thing. The exact. So it's like, bro, I don't recommend anybody drinking the Liquid Death, first of all. Second of all, any company that blows up out of nowhere, you already know what time it is and who they're dealing with and what forces they're using to embolden their gain, you know? So, so first of all, I don't recommend anybody drinking Liquid Death. But second of all, I recommend people blessing their food and praying over it. You know, I don't think people realize the spiritual implications of this kind of stuff. And then when people talk about COVID and jumping up and down about, there's going to be another, I shouldn't have said that word. I hope I don't get flagged on YouTube. Ovid or, whatever it's called. Supposedly you're going to do a second L down, right? Apparently that's been in the works. But it's like, yeah, bro, you're sick, bro? Okay, cool, man. Why don't you, why don't you pray? Why don't you, connect with God, commune with God, pray over the person that's sick, all this kind of stuff. It's like people don't realize the healing powers of focusing on the spiritual aspects of life and not like necessarily the material aspects of life. Because I think that the more that you do, you unlock like a secret pattern, a secret sauce, no different than in the Ephesians 6. So yeah, I mean, I just felt like that Black Plague thing was so much gravy in that one, and that's not because some truthers, they're into like certain topics and I see them on Twitter, but I've never seen that one, And I'm a kind of guy that I like bringing up topics that come to me. It's like divine revelation, right? Like you get downloads from God. God gives you these thoughts, and then it's like, you hoard them. What do? You let them out. You tell people about them. You want to drop the gravy. Like for me, I'm a kind of guy where it's like, bro, I wanna help others, bro. I wanna drop the gravy. I mean, look at it, bro. You think I'm blowing smoke up my butt, dude? Serve others, man. That's what it's all about, Serve others, helping people. It's not about me, bro. We live in a world. It's me. It's like, bro, dude, focus on helping others, and then guess what? You end up being helped. That's like the That's like the biggest secret that people don't tell about, you know? It goes back to the fear. They have you focusing on yourself. They have you focusing on fear. They have you focusing on material stuff. They have you focusing on nonsense. And then you end up what? Lost, astray, depressed, anxiety. We are the most technically, I mean, apparently, we're the most advanced society, which I doubt. But they say we are, right? But yet there's so much anxiety, there's so much depression, all this kind of stuff. Why? Well, think about it. They have everybody focusing on themselves, man. I mean, listen, I go to the gym and like, dude, I remember like even when I would lift, bro, and I would take some like gym selfies and stuff, and I look back and it's kind of cringe, right? But like that was like few and far between. Even when I would do it, I would feel like kind of embarrassed or whatever. But I was still kind of part of that life a little bit. But man, I go to the gym now, and I swear every guy is in the window or in the mirror taking pictures, bro. And I used to kind of like feel embarrassed, and I would do it if no one was looking or da da da. But now it's like, bro, people are so flagrant about it. It's like they don't even feel ashamed anymore. And I feel like our society just becomes more and more depraved, bro. Like even like with the whole like OnlyFans thing and all this kind of stuff, it's like the same ethos. It's like debauchery is like no longer shameful, bro. And then they keep like pulling it a certain way till it's like, yo, like like Adam 22. I saw an interview with that guy, and he was like, dude, like, because they were like, oh yeah, you let your wife sleep with a porn star and all this stuff, and he had every excuse in the book to say it. And then he was like, yeah, man, but hopefully. And then they were like, what about your daughter? What about your kids? Like, what are they gonna think in the future? And he was like, dude, hopefully by the time my daughter's up or older, like society's changed and it doesn't matter too much anymore about that. It's like, bro, he's banking on society becoming so depraved where it doesn't matter that your dad is a porn star and lets your mom sleep with another dude. Like, yo, bro, like that is wild. Like, bro, like your man card is revoked in my eyes, bro. I'm sorry, dude. Like, but like just imagine, just that's how people's minds are. But I alluded to this earlier, right? They were like, yo, technology is so advanced. Bro, technology is not so advanced. It's so obvious that, I mean, if you go back into like even the early like late 1800s, early 1900s, and you see like the buildings, like bro, come on, man. Like we lived in, like, I mean, look at the cathedrals. Listen to me. This is something that gets me slightly upset. Why does everybody go to Europe? Why do they go? I'll tell you why. Because of all the beautiful buildings, right? They take a picture. Oh, look how cute I am. I'm in front of this cathedral. Oh, look at me. I'm in Spain. I'm in Italy. Oh, so cool. Oh yeah, you think it's cool being in front of basically a place of worship that they created like 200, 300 years ago or whatever? Like, that's great. Why don't we do that now? Oh, because it's so expensive. Da, da, da. And somebody will have all the perfect mind excuses. It's like, bro, you know why? It's just like, first of all, our society doesn't value those kind of things, and second of all, it's like, bro, people need to put a lot of love and art into it, right? What's everything about nowadays? The quick flip, money. All it's about is, you name it. Hey, boom. Oh, I can make 100 G's off of this quick flip. Da 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 da. I mean, listen, bro. I'm in Miami. Every single person in Miami is into that type of business. They're not about, hey, how could I like benefit society and like make some art that'll like last for generations and like really like influence like my grandchildren and great grandchildren and like really homage God and like I'm using my spirit to like help form the world. And no, bro, they're like, hey, how can I make as much money as possible? Money. It's like, yo, bro, it's like, I really wonder, like, bro, when people go overseas and they look at all that stuff, like, do they ever like think like, hey, why don't I get inspired and try to change society and civilization in that same exact way? So I mean, one rabbit hole for people to look into is Tartaria, right? About how all the there's mud floods, or You know, how like out of nowhere society just changed, right? And how there's like great resets, right? There's different resets along different generations, and how apparently, bro, like there was a societal reset. Like if you ever look at all the different orphans, right? So like back in like in the early 1900s, all the different orphans and orphanages, and there were tons of orphanages and kids that were just like, bro, like Oliver Twist and all, like there were stories like, bro, it was just mad orphanages, right? It's like, bro, why were there so many kids and babies? It was like, yeah, bro, because they had like a societal like erase and then a reset, like a reset, you know. And so like a lot of people say, yo, but those buildings are from like, oh, the World's Fairs, and there was different World Fairs, and bro, a lot of those things were just made out of plaster and stuff. It's like, bro, how were some of those things made with plaster and held up for as long as they were? Like if it's made out of plaster and bullshit, dude, that would have like lasted only a little bit of time, bro. Like it wouldn't have lasted for like 3 years or however long. You know, not to mention, I mean, if you still look at like New York, Boston, certain places, there's still like remnants of that. You know, and then when you dig deeper down, you'll see that it actually extends further down. So it's like, yo, was there a mud flood? Like, was there a different civilization back there? But you know, I mean, that's a lot of like heady things to get into, and I don't feel like going so deep down the rabbit hole with Tartaria and whatnot. But definitely, it just wanted to highlight the fact that people say that we're so smart now, and it's just like that ain't true, bro. That ain't true, dude. We're not smart now, dude. If anything, we've devolved, bro. People back in the day used to be so much more connected with God, and like nowadays, bro, no one's connected with God. If you rep God now, like a lot of the people just laugh, dude. They think, oh, you know, you're, because the thing is, they have society programmed, you know, so they already have, oh, you're one of those God people. Oh, so you must be like this or that and the other. Like they don't have like enough nuanced perspective to be like, oh, great, like you're actually smart and know actual truth of like the universe and the way that things are. You know, they'll be like, oh no, like you're one of those like religious nuts. It's like, bro, it's like a lot of those people are like put in place to lead you astray, to lead you, be like, oh yeah, you follow that, you follow that. Okay, never mind. I'm just gonna watch my UFC now and tune out. It's like, nah, fam. Like back in the day, they were more connected with God, and that's why they were able to create such beautiful artwork, you know, or paintings, or architecture, or I mean, you name it, anything, you know, anything that's that inspiring and influential, you know. Um, so yeah, guys, I think so. I try to do it like about an hour. I think I've done about an hour. I think I'm gonna continue going a couple more minutes. I don't know if I have much else to talk about though. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed my stream. I'm definitely open to criticism. I definitely want to improve. My hope is that every time that I do a stream, the next one will be better, the next one will be better. So as you can see, the video is quite better than the one before. I was like lagging out and it was like all like busted. But yeah, like I'm definitely gonna work at the OBS and have things like you know, I don't know, my socials or like little things, or I'll have like a live now or like a countdown, or you know, I'll get a little bit like swag with it. But yeah, I guess my lasting note was just be like, dude, like don't be psyoped by the media, and know that you have so much more power than what the powers that be want you to know. And if you just deflect all the fear, you're going to be a lot more powerful. You just have to lean on faith. There's a reason why I name my brand Faith and Base, is that faith is the secret sauce. Faith, you need faith to be able to overcome all these different obstacles. Through faith, you're able to defeat the enemy. Excuse me. Through faith, you're able to, you know, really be your true self, your God-given self, the way that God intended you to be. You know, otherwise, dude, you're gonna fall into fear and you're gonna backslide, and it's just gonna be like, dude, you're gonna be like a walking zombie, you know. And it's just like, dude, you just can't let faith like run your life. And I don't care what it is, man. You know, like, and I'm not even trying to be like unsympathetic, but it's just like what you're doing when you have fear is that you're underestimating the supernatural abilities of God, you know? So it's like a diss, bro. It's like, bro, you're dissing God by having fear. And listen, I'm saying that now, but listen, bro, I'm human. Sometimes I have fear too, you know? So I'm just using that as inspiration for other people, and hopefully you're inspired by what I say in my words. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good night and blessings upon you. Thank you very much, y'all. Have a good night.